don't think any concrete deal will be reached, but it's important that the two sides are actually talking, which is something we've not been doing in a while. So it's a necessary step in this process, but we are a long way from being able to resolve this. But it's good that the delegation's in D.C. I hope that leads to further progress, but we'll have to wait and see.
Given the imbalance in trade, do you believe that China has any power in these negotiations? I mean, we don't sell them that much stuff, and much of what we do sell them tends to be more animal proteins, feeds, things like scrap metal. Do they have a leg to stand on beginning these negotiations?
Well, China has a lot of strength. I mean, they're the second largest economy in the world. Clearly, the impact of the U.S. tariffs on Chinese products is hurting China. At the same time, they still have a strong economy. They have principles that they're trying to put forward. I think the real challenge for the U.S. is that we're trying to get some fundamental changes in China. As the second largest economy in the world, they are a non-market economy. And much of what we've cited as the source of the distortions are the result of their closed market, their non-market economy status, and their desire to keep that closed. So China does have strength in this. I think the U.S. has more strength. But the path that we're on of imposing tariffs by the U.S., retaliatory tariffs by China, is not ultimately a path that's going to be successful. We have to find ways to break down the barriers and to make sure that U.S. companies in a long term get a better deal in operating in China.
For anybody who has been waiting for the president to weigh in on Michael Cohen, who he did not mention yesterday in his comments, he has just done so on Twitter. A little restrained from what you might have expected, but he says, if anyone is looking for a good lawyer, I would strongly suggest that you don't retain the services of Michael Cohen. Ambassador Holleyman, I realize this is not what we brought you on to talk about, but you have enough political experience to kind of weigh in and tell us what you think based on yesterday's news.
Well, look, I think that issue is one that sort of clouds the overall picture. But I also know that in areas like the China negotiations, we continue to see the work being done. I don't think that's a significant distraction from trying to work these deals out with China. But what it does say is that from many fronts, there are a lot of challenges facing the country. They're both the domestic political challenges, but the type of changes that we're trying to drive internationally, largely, I will add, in the trade sphere without the support of our allies and friends. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges going forward in this process.
Although the administration may be making some progress, there is a report in Politico today suggesting that we are at the point of having a handshake agreement potentially with Mexico, being at the point of thinking we've really made some breakthroughs with the NAFTA talks just with Mexico. If that's the case, then Canada could come back in and maybe we get a little closer to an agreement there.
We should absolutely get closer there. They're our neighbors. They've been committed for several years to renegotiating NAFTA. But what we've got to do is move away from simply renegotiating old deals to getting new deals and getting new deals with countries like China. That's really critical, and that's where the stakes are high. And I continue to believe, as most of the business community believes, that the tariffs and retaliatory tariffs are costing U.S. businesses and our consumers and our workers. And so we better find a solution to this in the near term. Otherwise, the U.S. will be paying twice, both what we're losing in terms of access to the Chinese market and what we're losing by raising costs here domestically.
And on Thursday, another round of tariffs will go into effect on $16 billion of goods. So, I mean, this will all get ramped up. Ambassador, in your view, you've said that your measure of success for any deal would be dramatically improved market access for U.S. companies looking to do business in the China market. Can you see a path to success, though, through trade talks, through tariffs? I mean, for instance, if tariffs go into effect on $200 billion worth of goods, will that do the trick? Does China have to be forced into this?
Well, I don't think that's the trick. I mean, I don't think that the use of the tariffs, which is the path that the administration has taken, is the best way to get us to where we're trying to go in China. What the concern will be is if the tariffs go into effect, the ones that go into effect tomorrow, an additional potential $200 billion, China retaliates by tariffs on over 5,000 U.S. Products coming into China. And if those stay, then we have fundamentally changed the nature of the equation. But then the question is, what does China do after that? Because we import a lot more from them than they import from us. So they'll look to other things that are sort of non-tariff means to harm U.S. companies.
At
They'll
that point,
either encourage consumers to go elsewhere.
Does the leverage go in favor of China?
Well, China has a lot of leverage in this.
More so
you know,
than
I
the
don't
US,
want
I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, I would not say that they have more leverage than the U.S. I mean, we are clearly the strong player in this, but many U.S. companies do business quite successfully in the Chinese market, particularly consumer-facing companies. China would have the ability through regulatory burdens, through disincentivizing consumers to buy U.S. products to really hurt us. And so the path that we're on is a high-stakes game, but what we need to do is find a way to conclude that successfully, and that's going to take some tough negotiations and some willingness by China to really open their market in ways we've not seen to date.